tells me we're live. I don't believe it until I say, yeah, I think we are live.
Till it comes up across the screen.
Yeah, and somebody puts on there, I can see you and hear you. Is anybody out there?
Anybody there?
Yeah. Paul's joining us as a guest this week. So another paranormal group. He's going to tell us a bit about himself when we get going. Paranormal Paul's running a bit late, and Russell's just gone up to do his normal thing that he does before he comes on the show. I don't know what that is, but we won't go there. So if you could just pop a comment in the chat, please, to let me know that you're there. Just a little hello, anyone?
Anyone? Earth calling anyone?
Yeah. Not yet, but
they'll join in when they once it pings up on their phone.
Today.
Sorry?
Have you had the extreme weather today, the downpours?
Yeah, heavy rain and then sunshine, then heavy rain, then sunshine.
Yeah.
Because I ride a motorbike, so it's then it get wet, then dry, then wet, then dry. Not a good scenario, really.
It's been a bit like that. I think it was lovely about 8 o'clock, and then all of a sudden the sky just greyed over, and next thing it was bouncing off the pavements, and you're thinking, how's this happened? And of course, in a shop, you're not going to get many people come in.
No, it must be quite a long day if it's like that for you, is it?
No, I find it quite easy to get lost in that shop, so it's all
right. I bet. Lots of things to do, isn't there, really?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Plus, you can watch the world go past as well, can't you?
Yeah, I can watch paranormal programs,
Yeah. No, I'm off by heart.
Yeah.
Right. Are we live?
I've asked the question. I haven't seen any comments yet, but
we've got 3 people watching us, so
okay.
We'll start the show anyway. Paul will be joining us at some point. The other Paul will be joining us. He's just just walked in the door, and as we speak, I'm going to add him straight to the live, and he's
here. He is
straight in, and we are live, Paul. We are live, so don't panic. All right,
guys. Sorry, guys.
You got detention next week, all right?
Oh man.
Right. So, I don't know. I say I've probably got some form of opening song, but I can't find it anywhere. Somewhere along the line it is, but I won't play it because I don't know which button to press. But welcome everybody to the journey through the EGH Paranormal Talk Show. We are live and exclusive on all channels. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. Hope you are joining us. Let us know that you are there. I say we have got people watching, but I haven't had no notification come up on my phone. So, the powers to be, the paranormal world is out to get us tonight by the look of it. So, but we will crack on with the show, everybody. Welcome, one and all. I hope that you are well. We are being joined from Paul Howard, from host of Ghost Paranormal. So, welcome to the show, Paul. But just before we get started, I have to do this every week because if I don't do it every week, I feel the show goes in the wrong direction. All right. So, Mr. Paranormal Paul, how's your week been?
Non-stop, my man, non-stop. Very busy. And I completely forgot it was our friend's birthday. So we quickly ran round here, give her gifts, done this, done that, come back, had a quick bite to eat on my drive home. It's just been manic. But I made it. Just made it.
Manic is good because my nan always say if you're manic, time goes faster.
That it surely does.
And Si, how have you been? You've had quite a nice, easy week this week. You've only been in one day this week, haven't you?
I've been very relaxed this week, and I needed it, to be quite honest. Yeah, recharged the batteries a bit, so that's good. It's good. But you're never far away from it, so it's good.
Never far away from it. Got a bit of feedback there, but never mind. And let me get round to Paul. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on. How have you been?
Busy working. I have a main job that I work during the week, and then most of my other stuff is sent on the paranormal in the evenings and weekends. So busy.
Very busy. It sounds very busy.
Yes. Unfortunately, too busy.
Well, don't wish it away just yet. All right,
No,
don't wish
no.
it away just yet. So Paul, with we sort of got you on the show because a few weeks ago you joined us sort of on in the chat in one of the show, and you have a story of a friend that has back in 2005, I believe, was a time travel sort of scenario.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So is what I'll do, Paul, is I'm going to hand
Yep.
over to you.
Okay.
If you just sort of tell us the story, me, Paul, and Simon might interject at any point if we've got any questions. All right.
Yeah.
Because our brains will go 10 to the dozen on this one. I can feel it already in the water. All right.
Yeah.
So, Paul, I'm going to hand over to you. And can you just give us the story of your friend's time travel story?
Yeah. I have a very good friend of mine I've known for around about 30 years. So he's a good, solid chap. Takes a lot of photographs of nature, birds, all that type of stuff. So he's always out and about with nature and long walks, all sorts of things. So I hadn't heard from him for a few weeks. I thought, oh, what a strange. I wonder where he's gone. And then he gives me a ring out of the blue, probably, oh, I don't know, 3-4 weeks later. Said, like, sort of, how are you? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm good, good, good. How are you? He said, well, yeah, I'm okay, but I'm not. I said, oh, okay. What's happened then? And at that specific time, I was studying parapsychology at university. So he said, well, I've had an experience, but I don't know what I've had or what's happened. So I said, okay, go into the story. So he said, you're going to think I'm absolutely mad when I tell you this story, but this is true to life. This is what's happened to me. So I said, oh, okay. So the story starts off on a Friday. He's in work, and one of his friends owns a cottage in the Yorkshire Moors in a village called Craven. So he said to him, "Oh, if you want to go take photographs, go to the Yorkshire Moors because it's stunning up there." And I've got a little cottage in the village or just outside the village of Craven. So he said, "Yeah, okay then." So on a Friday, he sets off, drives there, finds a little cottage just outside the village of Craven, sort of settles down for the Friday night. So Saturday, he then goes out taking photographs on the moors and all this type of stuff. So he's gone most of the day, comes home, has a bit of dinner, has a shower, and he thinks, oh, well, I'll go and find a local pub because there's a village just down the road. So he jumps in his car, puts it in a very basic sat nav, and off he goes. So he drives out the cottage, turns right down the hill, comes to a T-junction. He turns left, and just on the left-hand side is a pub. So he turns left into the car park, but he describes the car park as being raised. So you drive in one level and then up to another. And right opposite the pub was a paper shop and a bakery. And he describes it like a very villagey-looking scene, basically, with the pub. So he walks down the car park, turns left onto what he describes as a high street, goes to the pub, opens the door, and as he walks into the door of the pub, there's a man standing behind the bar at the very end of the pub, sort of looking straight at him as he's come through the door. So he's opened the door, gone in, shut the door, thought, well, this is very strange, because he's very observant. He's very, very good like that. And this is very dimly lit, but didn't think much of it. And the barman's standing there with his arms crossed, just looking straight at the door as he's come in. Nobody else in the pub at all. So he's thinking, well, this is a bit odd. So he's walked up to the barman, and they've got all the big pull tap type beer dispensers. So he said, well, barman, can I have one of them, a pint of that? So the barman still doesn't say anything to him. So he pulls the pint, puts it on the bar. So he's thinking, well, this is not very good. So he gives him a £5 note. He opens the wooden till, puts the £5 in, shuts the till. So you think, blimey, that's a dear old pint, a fiver, and gives him no change. But he's still looking straight down at the front door. So my friend's thinking, well, this is odd. He's not even acknowledged him, but just served him a pint. So he sat down, and as he turned round to sit down, he described the pub as being very dimly lit. And there was a jukebox and a fruit machine on one level, and the seating area of the pub was like horseshoe shaped. So there were about 5-6 seats in a horseshoe shape around this bar. Sort of, if you walk through the front door, there'd be a seat to your right, seat to your left, and then a few up. but they were all in a horseshoe shape. So he's got his paper out and he's sitting there reading his paper. Still no one's come in. Still the barman hasn't moved. He's still looking straight at this door. And he's thinking, why does he keep looking at the door? So he's sort of behind his newspaper looking at the door. So he's looked and can't see anything. So he's finished his pint and thinks, well, I'll go and have another one. I'll try something a bit different. So he's got up, left his paper on the table, gone up to the bar and said to the barman, I'll try that. So the barman's poured out another pint for him. He's given him a £5 note. He's opened the wooden till, shut the till. And a split second, he picked his pint off of the bar. He had the door open and shut, bang, behind him. And he's like, oh, thank God for that. Somebody else is here. And as he turned round to come back to where he's seated, there was about 20 people sitting in the seats. And he also noticed the drinks on the table that were half drunk. And he's thinking, what? And he sort of got back to his seat, being a bit creeped out now. And he's sort of thinking to himself, what? How could they have come in? They've not gone to the bar. There was nobody there when a split second ago when I would. So he's going through all these scenarios in his head. So he's looking at these people and they're all sitting there with their arms crossed. The drinks are still the same. Nobody's talking. Nobody's saying anything to them. Nothing. They're not talking to each other, anything. It's said there about sort of 25, 26 people, around that sort of thing. And he described him in what he described as like 1930s type clothing. Because he's pretty good historian like that. It's like 1930s. He said it'd be around that era. So he sat down there drinking his beer and still these people are sitting there. Nobody's looking at each other. It's all. So he's gone up. He thought, well, this is a bit too creepy. So he walked up towards the bar and he went up the level to put the fruit machine, have a go at the fruit machine. The barman said, doesn't work. It's, oh, okay, I put some music on. Doesn't work. He thinks, what sort of pub is this then? So he walks back down to his table again, drinks up his pint, and thinks, and these people just sitting there, nobody's moved, nothing's happened. The barman's still looking at the front door, nothing's changed, and it's very dimly lit. So he thinks, right, I'll go and go to the toilet before I go back up to the cottage, to drive up to the cottage. I need to go to eat. So he's gone up past the barman, up the bar, round the side of the bar, opened the door, but the toilet was outside. And as he opened the door, there was a dog there, barked, really, really going for him. He thought, you know what, I'll wait till I get home. So he shut the door, got there, sort of rushed in, picked his paper up, looking at his thing. And as he looked up, the front door shut in front of him. He thinks, well, that's not nice. He didn't even hold the door open. And he said literally seconds behind him. He's come out the front door of the pub, got onto the high street, and there's nobody. There's nobody there. It's gone. They've all gone. 25, 26 people just disappeared. And he's thinking, no, this can't be right. Got in his car, drove back to the cottage, thinking about it all night. Couldn't really sleep because he's thinking, what? How could that be? How could them people get out of that door without me seeing them? That's what he said. The door just sort of shut in front of him, and he got straight out the door literally seconds later, and nobody was there. So anyway, the next morning he wakes up on the Sunday. He thinks, I've got to go back there. I've got to find out what's going on. So he's put his sat-nav on, gone down the road again, got to the T-junction, turned left, parked in the car park, same car park, upper stage, looked across the road, same bakers, newspapers and that. And he's thinking, well, it's the same village because the sat-nav says I'm here. So he's walked to the pub and it's all boarded up. And he's like, what? So he's gone back to the car, looked at the sat-nav, thought, this is where I was last night. So anyway, he heard a tap, tap, bang, bang, and a bit of music next door. So he's walked along past the pub, and there's a mechanic working in a workshop just next door to it. So he sort of walked up to the bloke and said, oh, morning, mate, how are you? Blah, blah. Bloke said, yeah, all right. He said, oh, how long's the pub been shut? He said, you don't need to know. He said, oh, well, I was just doing a history check of the local area and thought I'd ask. He said, well, to be honest with you, it's been shut about 80 years. So he's got back in his car, drove off and thinking, no, it can't be right. This is not right. Anyway, he's drove all the way back. He's got home and all weekend he's gone through his mind. He just cannot get it out of his mind. So anyway, he spoke to his brother, said to his brother, you're going to think I'm mad. So he's gone through the whole story and told his brother. And his brother, this is about a year later. So his brother well, yeah, 8 months to a year later, probably. So his brother said, well, I'll go and have a look. He said, no. He said, come with us. He said, no, I'm never ever going back there. No, I'm not doing it. So his brother's driven up there, stayed at the cottage with his girlfriend, driven down the same route, got to the same high street. There's the pub, all lively, you know, all youngsters, music playing, people drinking. He's walked into the pub, gone up to the bar, had a few beers, couple of beers with his girlfriend, and blah, 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 got his change, put in his pocket, all that sort of stuff. And then he walked back out of the pub and thought, what's he on about? It's this. I know it's like a year or so later, but it's not how he described it. So anyway, he goes back to the cottage that night, him and his girlfriend. So they go to bed. So he puts the change out of his pocket onto the bedside table, gets into the bed and thinks, well, that's weird. What's that? So when he looks through his change, there's a 1930s penny in his change. So he thinks, well, what's the chances of that, getting a 1930s penny in my change? So anyway, he calls me and tells me this story. And I said, well, why don't we go back up there? He said, no, I'm not going up there. No chance. You know, to me, I got out and something wasn't right. Something wasn't good. So anyway, I started to do a history check of the area. And the pub used to be called, although the village has changed names now, the pub used to be called Craven in Heifer, which is in Heifer in the Cow. So I did a bit of a search. Couldn't really find a great deal about it, but it was a very old mining village, and people used to gather in this pub. So I know what I do. I call the local church and see if I can find a bit more out about what's happened in the area. So I rang the church, spoke to this guy, and he said, well, you don't need to know anything about the village. Just leave it at that, shall we? And I'm like, oh, okay. That's a bit of a warning, isn't it? So I backed off, and then I started to really intrigued me what had gone on. So I was digging months and months and months. And then I found it in 1930, in around September, October time, which is when he went, there was 26 people walking from the mine village to the pub, and the mine collapsed and swallowed them up, which was 26 people. The mine collapsed in the road as they were walking there and swallowed the 26 people, and they all sadly died. So, and then I was thought, well, that explains why they maybe have been there in that time.
Yeah.
So when I was doing the parapsychology at university, there was a woman coming there to give us a talk. She was coming from a department of NASA, and she was talking about time travel and space, and just things that would mind blow you towards the sort of, because it was parapsychology. Of course, I was doing at uni. It sort of covered a lots of different things, time travel. Oh, she was talking about the Philadelphia experiment with the ship, and I thought, shall I tell her this story? Because she's going to think I'm completely and utterly mad. I think, you know what? What have I got to lose? They think I'm mad anyway. So what have you got to lose? So at the end, and she had any questions, I said, can I ask you a question about a possible time travel? I said, yeah. I said, I'll make the story short. So I went through the story. She said, oh, that's not uncommon, that type of experience. And I'm like, well, okay, what do you mean by it's not that uncommon? And she was going on about how we have parallel lifelines and we cross, and they come forward or we go back in time. And she reckons that when he entered the door, he'd actually gone back to the time that they would have been in the pub in the 1930s. And this is the interesting bit. So she said, and him going to the toilet and the dog barking was the warning to get out before that time changed. And she said that could be in the stories that she's heard, very, very similar to that, what's happened. She said that could be where people disappear and never found again because they didn't get the warning to get out as the time split. And the dog barking at him, chasing him out the pub, was his warning to get out before time changed. What do you make of that? And she's like, yeah, that's not uncommon. She said, is it these missing people that go missing and never ever found, didn't see the warning, where they'd crossed back, didn't see the warning, and where are they? Would he have been stuck in the 1930s if he hadn't heeded the warning to get out? I don't know. But that's what happened to him. And I know he's a genuine guy, and he described it. He's very observant. He's a very good person like that, and I know him for 30 odd years, so I know he's not lying. And even doing the history chat, and I didn't tell him I was going to do it, I just did it. And when I found out 26 people were swallowed up in a sinkhole, to me that was it. I'm thinking that's it. That's exactly what's happened. And that was in 1930, and his brother having a 1930s penny in his change was another clue to what had happened. And that's the story. So, absolutely incredible story.
Yeah. It is incredible.
There's so many questions there that the first question I've got to ask, okay, is has he ever gone back since?
No, he refuses to go back because he said, I think it was a warning, and if I go back, something's going to happen to me. And I refused to go back. Even I said I would go back with him as an investigator, and I said we'll do a local investigation around the area, see what we can pick up. He said that was enough for me. What I saw, what I was involved in, and what I felt was a warning, and I will never ever go back there again. That was enough for me. And he's never been back again, and he never talks about it, because when I see him, we go out for a drink, and he's like. And I look at him and say, he said, yeah, I know, but I'm not saying it. I'm not talking about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It scarred him, hasn't it? It has
yes.
scarred him. By the sound of it, it scarred him.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Paul? Have you ever been there?
No. I kept meaning to go there, but obviously you know how it is as time runs on. And I really wanted to go there, but when I'd done some more history checks years later, the village has changed names. I can't quite remember what the name of the village is now, but it's actually gone away from Craven to a different name. Now, I'm not sure whether that's why the name of the village changed. I'm not sure, but it's known as a different village now.
Wow.
Especially if that's not the first time that's happened. If something like that has happened before and there's some reports coming out, that's changed the name of this village before we start getting all us lot. Zooming in on the place,
Absolutely.
That'd be my first thought. Well, we got to go and check this out. And you're like, I'd love to go back. But if it did happen to me, would I love to go back, or would I be thinking the same thing? Hold up a minute.
Not, And that's like this lady said. Is it that when people go disappearing and they're never ever found? Could it be that they've gone over that side, never heeded the warning to return, and that's where they are, never to come back?
Just makes me think as well, because that's very near to Tolmalden, isn't it? I think it's only about 35 miles from Tolmalden with the UFO incident, right? And near there is where that person was found on top of the coal pile.
Right.
I found a person dead.
Yeah.
On top of a coal pile. He had nothing on him, so there was no marks of coal. And they, to this day, don't know.
I remember that.
Yeah, they don't know.
Yes.
Coal pile. Well, perhaps he went into that pub.
Well, perhaps he crossed over at some stage. There was a portal or a crossing, and he actually came back, but was too late to coming back.
Yeah, perhaps he didn't heed the warning.
No. Like your program a couple of weeks ago when Paul was saying, Paranormal Paul Ayers was saying, what were the warnings? The dog barking that drove him out of the pub was the warning.
Yeah.
But
he thought, stop this, I'm out.
That's what I'm saying. A dog barking to me wouldn't be a warning.
But the dog was quite ferocious.
I think you'd have to be right. You'd have to really be, fair play to your friend. You know what? He's seen the warning, and he's seen the warning. He feels like he's got that warning, and that's what's caused him to do it.
Yeah.
See, with the course that obviously that said it could happen, she's seen the warning, and that's it. But I think, like me, I'd probably be stuck there because I wouldn't know the warning. I wouldn't see the warning. It would have to be.
Maybe the warning is not going out of that door where the dog is, not so much leaving exactly what he did, but not going further into it. And also, I think you go out the back door where the dog is, maybe that's a point of no return. But if you're staying in there and leave the way you come in, you'd be all right. Maybe the warning is don't go any further.
Also, the thing is, though, he's gone in there, yeah. He's bought 2 pints. The barman's not even talking to him. So that's going to put you on edge anyway.
Yeah, he said it was creepy. Very creepy.
Then look back, it's dimly lit them. 26 people have all come inside this pub. And my mind would be thinking, what the hell's going on? There's no noise, not talking. I think, do you know the thing I first do is put my pint down and think, I'm out of it.
Yeah. And I think the dog barking was a warning, but he didn't see it as a warning. He just thought, you know what, something's wrong. This is totally wrong. Yeah. But he didn't see it as a warning. He just thought, you know what, this has completely creeped me out. I'm going. I can't be putting with this, because he's standing there. They're not talking. All these various things are happening. He's not the silly person either. And he's thinking, you know what, this is too creepy for me. And he was on his way out, when the door shut.
There as long as he did, to try and make sense of the situation.
Yeah.
Being a rational guy.
Yeah. He was trying to think, well, what, how can it be like this? Why would they be dressed like that? How could they have just entered it? He said all these things were going through his mind. And it was only the woman from, I can't think, Dr. Chan Lee or something like that, her name was. And she said to people, she was the one that said the dog was the warning. The dog was the last final straw for him to go. Although he didn't see the dog as a warning, the dog having a go at him, he couldn't go out to the toilet because he said the dog was quite angry, like really up at him. And he thought, well, you know what? He shut the door and thought, this is it. I'm done. I'm out of here. This is enough for me. And she said that would have been the warning for him to get out before whether the portal, whatever you want to call it, the hole in space and time changed. Otherwise, he was said to me, would I have been trapped there for the rest of my life? And that's the question I can't answer. I don't know.
Quite possible, isn't it?
It is possible, but you also have to think, if it happens there, it's got to be happening backwards. I would, in my head, there, where you've got that doorway opening to go through, that doorway would be opening to go through for you to get back at that. You'd have to work it out and try and figure out how you would work that out.
Yeah.
Because I think it sounds like, do we know when the village changed its name, Paul? Because obviously it's not called Craven anymore.
No, it changed when I last looked at it, and when I did the checks, it was around 2015, 2016. It had changed its name from the Craven into what I just can't remember the new name, but it had gone from this village to a new name. Now, whether they'd have incidences there before, I don't know, because I've never really gone back to it. And even, I've even said to him, we'll go back together, so it could, and he just won't have it. And it's very similar to that street in Liverpool, isn't it? Bond Street, or, where people are walking along the street in Liverpool and they suddenly see horse and carriages go past them.
Yeah.
What's going on there? Is that the same thing as here? But he said, all the elements put together made it so creepy that he decided he'd had enough and he was going. He was out of the door. So it was, it was the lady that said the dog was probably the warning, was the final straw for him to go, because it was all too creepy, all not real. The dimly lit, how they were dressed, how nobody acknowledged each other, how the barman just stood looking straight at the front door, didn't change his position other than pull a pint. And I said to him, did you notice how he pulled it? Because if it was me, I know it's easy to say, wouldn't you have watched his body language? I'd have been looking at his body language thinking, you're not actually moving right. But was he pulling a pint for someone that was sitting down and not for my mate?
Yeah, quite possibly.
I don't know.
He took his money.
Yeah.
So...
yeah. But he didn't take it out of his hand. He took it off the top. He slid it off the top of the bar into wooden, and he described it as a wooden till because he saw it open. Put it in, and he thought, well, blimey, this is their old pint, and he can give me no change or anything. And that was his first thought, blimey. And the barman then crossed his arms and kept looking. And I often wondered him, thinking about it, whether the barman actually saw him or was just pulling a pint for someone that was already there.
Mm.
I don't
he
know.
couldn't see at the time.
There's a lot of questions because obviously there, you know, for me, I'd be thinking if there was, you know, sort of when you said it and he said, bloody hell, that's an expensive pint, you know.
Yeah.
Now, whatever he give him, say, give him a £5 note, I'm saying. Now,
Yeah.
the bar wouldn't know what a £5 note is back in the 1930s.
No.
So we've got a two-way split there of why didn't the barman question the money? Because he'd be like, what are you giving me? He's taken that as payment. So, you know, it almost feels like, you know, maybe like a time travel / alternative reality. Because they're both knowing what they're doing, but not knowing what they're doing. Because as you rightly said, oh, that's an expensive pint. I think I would have questioned that. You know, I think I'd have gone, well, how much is the pint, mate?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just naturally question that. And being on the reverse, the barman would have questioned, you know, what's this you're giving me? So that's where, like, the alternative reality sort of, they both obviously knew what was going on, but didn't know what was going on. They both knew it in terms of in money, but didn't know it was money. Do you know?
Yeah, but then in that scenario that he was talking about at the end, he couldn't see the gentleman's friend. What if he thought he was serving the other people that were in the bar that the gentleman's friend couldn't see at the time?
Yeah.
Like I say, so he's put his money on the counter thinking, there you go, there's your money. But if the other people there that he couldn't see in that alternate reality had done the same thing, he's just picked that money up, put it in the till.
Joe would have
Joe's
same thing. I'll go back to Joe's story in a minute because he said he's got a story like it. Dean said, was the dog there being aggressive to purposely make him leave? So not to get that. Yes, that's what the thought is, Dean, at the moment.
Yeah.
Thought it was.
I think the only thing that would have done it though, right, is the actual your friend saying to him, well, how much is a pint then? Because the barman would have just taken it to be payment. If he's living in that time, he may not even look at it, just put it in his wooden till.
But what if he put the modern day £5 note down, okay, and then the barman's looked at it as a 1930s pound?
Exactly, it could be.
But didn't realise it was a modern day £5 note. Hence why he never got any change.
Yeah,
you know, this is the question that I sort of run through my head all the time. You know, like you say, why didn't the barman acknowledge him? He poured him a pint, but didn't acknowledge him. You know, not as though he said, you know, he looked straight at the front door. He said, even when I was standing there waiting for him to pour the pint, it was like he was looking straight through me to the door. He's never moved from looking at that door. Even when he's pulling the pint, he pulled the pint, but his head was still looking at this door, put the pint on the top. He put the £5 on the top like you would. And then he pulled out a tray, put the money in the tray and shut the drawer like an old-fashioned wooden till. So what if at that time, he was back in the 1930s? And that modern-day £5 was, I don't know what sort of notes they would have had in the 1930s, but would have been a 1930s currency.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But another question, so as we're talking about it and we're going back to that.
Yeah.
Would they have had pints pulled like that in the 1930s? Would they have gas like we have now? That would be another question to me.
I don't think
they would have
the same as what
I think they did.
Similar pullers.
Yeah,
I would have thought
gas, has it?
Yeah, I would have thought they would have had full pints because you see them in the old fashioned when the ships are pulling and the sailors and they're pulling pints for the sailors. Yeah. So I think around that time they would have had, whether it was gas or some other means of pushing the beer, I don't know. It may have been gas that inside the barrel that pushed the beer up through the pump. I don't actually know, but he described it as an old fashioned pump, and he just put the glass under, but just he never changed his stance.
It's just loads of questions, isn't there?
Yeah. It just blows your mind, doesn't it? Really, because you know all the time I've known this story for many years, and I question it and think, well, why didn't he acknowledge him? Was he actually there? Was he in the night, or was he serving someone that was sat at a table. How did these people get the drinks on their table without going to the bar?
Yeah.
So would it be that he's gone back in time and dropped straight into that pub right as they were there?
But what's to say that there isn't 3 different things going on there?
Well,
What's to say? Do you know?
It's like 2 timelines in one, isn't it?
We're looking at our timeline. We're looking at the living timeline. We're looking at the 1930s, and we're looking at the barman could be something from the 1950s. For all we know, we could have him 3 different stamps on one
at one time.
Yeah. Joe's asking, what is the pub now? Do you know? It's gone, I'm assuming.
It's gone now because the village has changed its name. And as far as I understand, I did try to look for it, but it doesn't come back up anymore.
It'd be interesting to find out the new name of the village. That would, because I
did find it because
I think me and Joe are trying to get up to Yorkshire in late October at some point.
Have a look, but it was in a village called Craven, and it was the Craven in Heifer after the cow, Heifer the cow.
Well, I can find Craven District, so
yeah, but I think the village changed its name. I don't know why, but it's changed its name from that. Whether that's like you were saying to stop people flooding in there because there have been incidences of something happening in the village, and they don't want the village to be known as a haunted village, and nobody buys the houses, or they're trying to increase the volume of the village, to make it into a modern town. I don't know, but even trying to get information through the church and things like that, I was stopped straight away. You don't need to know that. I said, well, I'm just doing it as a history thing. You don't need to know. Put the phone down.
That says something else is going on there.
Yeah, so there's something still going on.
Just for the mine collapse, the sinkhole and sad loss of life. But that's just history.
Yes.
As sad as it is, that is just history. But to just dismiss anything to do with it, that something else is going on there, as if.
But then maybe they're protecting the village, like you say, they're protecting the village because
it doesn't want to become a Pluckley.
Exactly, yeah. Pluckley village. You know how haunted that is and the name that it's got. And if you had a village in Yorkshire, I mean, the houses are pretty cheap. And, although it's a spectacular area, the last thing you want is to have a village saying that, this is so haunted that people wouldn't buy it there. Yeah. They're bringing it into the modern day and age. And, when I did, and it's very similar to one I did not far from you guys in Essex, Severall's Asylum. And I did a private case there, and that was a very similar thing, not time travel, but how much you met resistance trying to find out things that you were not meant to know. And that doing that one at Severall's, I run into all sorts of issues trying to get information about the area, the size of the asylum, who was there, when was there, blocked every which way. Like you were not meant to know what went on there. You don't need to know what went on there. And it seems to me like when I asked about the village in Craven, it was the same thing. You don't need to know. And I'm like, right, okay. Maybe that in hindsight, maybe I should have driven up there and gone there. But, time rushed on and he wouldn't go with me because I wanted him to go with me to relive the experience. So I knew that I was in the right place, that I'd gone the right way, that I'd gone to the right road to T Junction. There's the pub, there's, the estate, there's the paper shop, but there's the bakery. So I knew I was in where he experienced this, but he just refused to go. No, not a chance. He said, not a chance.
I don't think anyone should go somewhere like that on their own, specifically looking for that. There's something for anything paranormal. You shouldn't really go on your own.
No.
I certainly wouldn't go somewhere like that on my own. As intriguing as it might be, you've got to take someone with you.
The thing is with the paranormal, and we all know, we've been in it a long time. You go out on a venture on your own, and it's all brilliant, isn't it? It's your passion. It's everything you want to do, and you want to find that answer. Is there life after death? But what you're doing is when you're walking into a derelict building, whatever you're in, you're watching the end of the torchlight, but you're actually not looking at the ground, are you? Or you're walking on. And, it's many instances in America where people have gone investigating and gone down lift shafts.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at, you see something at the end of your torch, you're not looking at the ground you're walking on, are you? You're looking at that torch, thinking, what was that down there? What was that? And next thing you know, you drop 30 feet down a lift shaft. You know, you should always go 2, 3, 4-handed. So at least if you're walking forward, someone's looking at the ground, someone's looking forward, someone's watching around you. Say, "Whoa, watch out, there's a hole there." Or how many times, you know, you guys have done enough paranormal experience that you've gone into a building and tripped over something? Oh, blimey, who put that there? That's a bit dodgy. Or, you know, that sort of thing.
Paul
Because you're
usually does it
so
when he's
focused.
running away, Paul.
I don't blame you. Sometimes I've been running away rather quickly. But you
Sorry,
trip over things, don't you? You trip over things that you don't see because you're so engrossed on what's happening in front of you that you're not actually looking at the area around you, you know. And as I say, going back to that, you know, being stopped to go any further, because I said to him, you know, it's only for history. I'm doing history of the area. You don't need to know. And I thought, well, okay, that's, you know, something.
There's something there. The key to it is finding the village. That's the key to it. That's the key to, you because obviously if it's changed its name, it's going to be one big, you know, try and find that now. I think there's quite a hole in the, you know, a big hole to try and find that location. And with your friend sort of navigational skills or what, you know, sort of trying to find out what it was. But I've got my mind is going 10 to the dozen here because it does sound like something is bigger going on there than all of it. I don't
again, it could be quite rightly that the village doesn't want to be known as a haunted village. I get that. I do get that. But I don't think we should actually hide all knowledge of it. I think you should still be able to get knowledge of it. But wouldn't we all do it though? Come on, would we not all do it? If they said to us, right, this is a village name. The pub was this. It's now called this. We'd all be there tomorrow. They'd have hundreds.
Yeah,
they'd have hundreds.
And they need to protect the village. If they're going to, you know, make it a bigger village, a more modern type of village that's welcoming and bringing all these people in, you know, the last thing you want to be doing is a horde of paranormal investigators walking around with meters and lights and lasers and SLS cameras, and you know, that would give the game away, wouldn't it? You know, but when you think about the story, you know, and I even think about it now, and it just mind blows me, you know, absolutely mind blows me how, why, when, what, you know, what happened that night he went in. You know, did he trigger something? Was there something happening as he walked through the door? What went on? And really, the more you think about it, the more you can't get, like Russ is saying, you've got so many questions in your head. Why, what, when, if, what, if he'd have done, why didn't he? You know, but it was all mind blowing, really. And like she said, you know, this could explain why people go missing and then never found again. They just disappear.
That hit me hard when you said that. When you finished off with that, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. That would explain a lot of disappearances of people. You know, is it, you know, the story of Lord Lucan, that type of thing, you know, he went missing, but was never really found. You know, is there generations of people that do go missing that are never ever found? But why are they not found? We have so much resources now to find people, but why can't we find them? There's no trace of where they've been. There was no trace of where they were. There was no trace of this, no trace. Why?
But they have found remains and that of people, haven't they? Wearing watches and things like that from years before people wore watches, and that could be that kind of thing, you know.
It was like the man on the coal pile, like Ross was saying. You know, did he just suddenly drop out of the portal or out of that time zone dead? Obviously, because he'd been in that time zone for so long, he'd actually died, and it just because he passed away, bless him, that he was released from that time zone and back into, say, modern day today or whenever it was. Do they pass away and they drop back?
Yeah, it's about the 1980s. Sometime.
Yeah. But is it if they pass away in that time zone and they come back to this reality where they would have been?
Yeah. Could be. I don't know.
I don't know.
So many questions.
I'm going to throw a few questions out there. Dean said my point was if the dog wasn't there, would he have stayed?
Probably because
He was getting creeped out. He said he was getting creeped out because the atmosphere in it, nobody was talking. It was dimly lit. You know, the machine, the barman never really moved. And he said, what potentially, if he hadn't have gone for a wee, he'd have finished his pint and walked out the door.
Yeah.
But he needed a wee before he got to the car. So he decided to go out the back door, which was because the toilet was across a little bit of an alleyway outside. And he opened the door and saw the sign for the toilet. And that's when the dog was, rah, 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 rah. Thought, you know what? I'll wait. If I have to, I'll stop on the way home. This is just too much now. And he decided then to go. So, you know, the lady said that she thinks that was the warning for him to go. That was another thing just to say, go, get out.
Yeah, go.
And he did. He took the warning.
He's got to go anyway. But
yeah. Whether he would have stayed if it had been normal, well, I don't say normal, but if it had been the same, would he have stayed? I don't know. You know, he's very different. When you talk to him now, he just doesn't want to relive it because he just thinks he's escaped.
Fine.
It's one of them things. It's always looking at it's looking at the negative rather than the positive, isn't it? At the end of the day, because he thought it was going to be something bad, but because it never was relived, it could have been something really positive. You never know, but I suppose it's only how your gut feels at that time, and you're in that emotion, aren't you?
I think your gut would tell you, wouldn't it, as well?
Yeah.
I think your gut would tell you.
You have that fight or flight mode, don't you, in your body that tells you need to get out, you need to go now, something's going to happen or something bad is, and you get that feeling, don't you? It's like going on an investigation. You know, your body's the best piece of equipment you can take on an investigation.
Exactly.
Because that'll tell you whether it's right or wrong, whether you need to run or stand your ground. It will tell you. You don't need thousands of pounds worth of equipment to tell you when to run, because that won't always tell you run, will it? Because it doesn't sense fear, does it? Your thousands of pounds worth of equipment doesn't sense fear.
No.
We do.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Come and have a go if you're hard enough.
We as paranormal investigators chase the fear.
Yeah,
we walk the fear.
Yes, we live it.
We want that. You know, we want that. I long for when I first started to where I am now. I long to go back to where I first started to fear that fear. I've never, in the last 10 years, probably had 3 or 4 times of like fear, if I call it fear. But when I first started, there was pure fear because I didn't understand it. Now I sort of not say I ever understand it because I don't. But now I'm longing to chase that fear.
It's not a new thing now, is it? It's
I want
adrenaline rush.
I want to be frightened. I want something to absolutely creep up to me, and I want it to come out the woods, and I want it to run and chase me out. I want to run.
Yeah.
But I don't get that anymore because I don't get that anymore. It's an understanding of where I am. And I don't want to say it big-headed. Nothing frightens me. I'd go anywhere. You put me in anywhere.
Yeah. But is that because you now become more understanding of what goes on in the paranormal world? When you first go in there, you don't know what you're going to go up against, and you do carry that fear into an investigation. And the more you've been in the paranormal, and we all do it, that fear drops. But it's the unknown, isn't it? We want to know.
Yeah.
What are you? Who are you? Why are you here?
Yeah. But when I first started, the fear. It was the fear of that. And I don't get that anymore, which is I still get my adrenaline rush. I still get my excitement that I'm going into that venue. And when someone says to me, "Oh, I got a funny feeling tonight," I'm like, brilliant. Bring it on. You know, I want that fear. I long for that fear now. So when someone says to me, like, this village of, that
Yeah.
excites me because I want to, if I get stuck, I get stuck because I've chased that fear. I can't change that. That's my job as a paranormal investigator. I can't, if I was to live in that, not your friend, because obviously that's not what I'm at, but me, I would go towards that fear. Not to say, obviously, I don't fear the fear of that place where your friend is, but I'd be intrigued by that village, and I would go there with a right open mind, and I would say, bring the lot on. Bring the lot on.
But then if you don't understand the paranormal world, you're just a normal person plodding along in your daily life, taking pictures of, scenery of Yorkshire, to end up in a scenario of that, we would, like you say, we would go towards the fight. We'd say, right, let's have it. This has got to be something wrong here. Whether you return back to time or not, he's just an ordinary person going about an ordinary day. He's never been spiritual. He's never been into the paranormal, anything like that. Never ever believed. So he's a full-blown skeptic. Even when I was doing the parapsychology course, he's going, you believe in all of that? I said, I don't know whether I believe in it, but I know there's something. And I like to learn more about it because I see every time I go out on an investigation with my team, I see it as every day is a school day because every investigation, I learn something different on every investigation. No investigation that we've ever done has ever been the same. Never. And anybody says, oh, yeah, we had that last time, we got this, got that. But it's different, isn't it? Every investigation, even if you go back to the same place 3 or 4 times, you have 3 or 4 different things happen. So you learn. It's a school day. Well, that never happened last time. Why we can see that? Why is this not happening when it happened? And I see it as like a school day where I learn every time I go out, I learn something different about myself. My fear. Is it fear? Is it my passion? The team, are the team doing the right thing? Are we feeling everything together as a team? Are we feeling this individually? I'm always questioning what I'm feeling as a team leader. Do I feel this? How do they feel? Because if you suggest something, and we all know the power of suggestion is massive, because if you have a team and you go, oh, did you all hear that knock? They'll go, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did hear that. And full well there wasn't a knock there. And if there's a knock, I never say out, did anybody hear that? I just keep quiet. And if a guest says, I just thought I heard a noise, I won't say, oh, yeah, I heard it too. I say, oh, what did you hear? Because if I say, yeah, there was a noise, there was a knock, you're telling that person that you're agreeing with them because that power of suggestion you've just said to them, there was a knock, there's a shadow, there's a tap or whatever, they're going to believe you, aren't they? Because you're the paranormal leader.
Yeah.
So I keep stum. I let them experience the phenomenon themselves. They come up to you after and say, did you really hear a knock? Say, well, yeah, I did. But I wanted you to experience what I experienced. And if I tell you what I experienced, that'll go into your subconscious mind and lead you on to thinking, oh, there was a knock there. Yeah, I can go with that. But it wasn't. And that's how I think that's how I do it anyway. And I treat every investigation as a school day. I learn something different every time I go out.
Oh, it is. And that's what I love about the paranormal.
But when you're on investigations, like all of us, we're already looking for that sort of thing. So now I think you've put ourselves in this scenario here in this village. Let's say we didn't go looking for it and we just rocked up to this pub like this gentleman did and this started happening. Would our first inkling go, hang on a minute, I'm in a time slip here? I don't think it would be. I think we'd be just as confused as this fella going, cool, this is a bit weird, isn't it? You ain't as much as we go out looking for something like this and want it to happen. I genuinely don't care how weird it gets. I'll probably think I'm in a cult village or something like that before I get to the point of thinking I'm in a time slip.
Yeah.
I think our brains would think logically, like you've just said. I think if it was me, I'd be thinking, bloody hell, I've gone into a pub and they've got a 1950s night on or a 1930s night on.
Yeah.
That's where my brain would go first and foremost.
Yeah.
And then,
you would try to make logic of it, wouldn't you? You think you wouldn't go there with your paranormal head on. You think this is a very strange pub, but maybe they're like that around here. They're very dimly lit, and there's just But, as we're paranormal investigators, anything that's out of the ordinary when we do an investigation is an alarm bell for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you're a normal person going about your normally daily duties, and people do, don't they? They see things happen and they go about their daily thing and they think, oh, all right, and carry on, like the street in Liverpool, where people see horse and carriages and things happen to them in a split second. But they're going about their daily business. They just notice it and carry on walking with their shopping bags.
Yeah.
How can that be? Then they realise they've seen something, but they carry on with their normal day because that's how we are. Something happens, we carry on, don't we?
Yeah. We do. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right, got a couple of questions, so let's just go to questions. Hi, just wondering if a person didn't heed the warning and was stuck in the time slip back in the 90s, would they live their life along that timeline? Would that person not want their story relayed to future generation, or is that them lost? Or do you think that they're just stuck in a snippet of time?
I mean, I don't know. He'd never really. It's only me, obviously, we're speaking to him about telling people about his experience. He would never actually give the story himself. He would never recount it or relive it. He's always said that I will never ever talk about this again. I've told you, and I know that, and he doesn't mind me talking about it. But obviously, his name's not involved in anywhere along the line. But whether he would have stayed there and lived his life in the 1930s, I don't actually know.
Yes.
I don't know. Would he have disappeared forever and never been found because he got lost on the moors because he's out taking pictures? That type of scenario. Would you have got? Yeah, well, he'd gone walking and he's just disappeared on the moors. That's what happens here. Not that he's gone in somewhere that's known to have a bit of a odd place and he disappeared.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think it's a real deep question, and I don't think you could take that any way, shape, or form. You could look at it any way. They could have lived, you look at the Hollywood films, you got Back to the Future, haven't you? So,
I think you have had recorded cases. I remember that we done it on a show quite a while back. I think it was in another country. A gentleman got stopped at customs. He just got off the plane, and on his passport it said he was from some place that they'd never heard of. And they took him in, started questioning him, this and that, and he got the world map up, and he's pointing at all the different countries and continents, and he's naming them, and they were all the same, apart from they had different names to what he was saying. But he lived in the country that he'd landed in. But they were like, but nowhere, your address doesn't.
Yeah.
Nothing's called that. And then they put him in the cell. But when they went to get him in the morning, it disappeared, completely disappeared. So whether that was a time slip thing or a parallel universe type thing, the two, I don't think the two are that dissimilar. But I'll guarantee you, if you look through old archives and records, there'll be a story somewhere of someone saying exactly the same thing as what's happened to this gentleman. But it's not, how do I say it? It's not big news in the way that the world's going to think it's big news, because 95% of people are going to think he's crazy, or he'd had one too many drinks, or
exactly.
No one's going to believe it.
No,
very few
that's what he said. You're going to think I'm crazy was his first words.
There you go. Yeah. And I think that's why they just get sort of missed out.
It does, yeah. It does. People push it. A lot of people that not in the paranormal world that don't understand things that happen, push them to one side. He's just being silly. He's a bit too lally. He doesn't know what he's on about. If you imagine 200-300 years ago, you said to someone, you can hear voices in your head, you think it's spirit, what would they have done with you?
Tried you for being a witch. Yeah. Exactly that. Yeah, exactly that.
And the people that don't know about the passion that we have for learning, is there life after death? Because ultimately that's the question we're asking, isn't it? As investigators, is there life after death? Can we prove that? And people think, You know, when I say to people, that's the ultimate question, is how you're mad, you'll never find out. Probably not. I'll probably join the other side before I find out. You know, it's that quest of trying to find that answer. And because they don't understand your passion and what you're doing, they think you're crazy. They think you're mad. You must be mad doing that. Why you want to stir up that? You don't know what you're dealing with.
The evidence and things that you witness and have gathered over the years as well, you could say to yourself, yes, there's life after death. But that's our interpretation of the evidence and things we witnessed over that timeline. It could be something else like we've had discussed before, Russ, isn't it? You know, you start questioning, is it spirits? Or is it a parallel universe doing the same thing we are? We're communicating with each other. We're just sort of interpreting it as, yes, it's spirit communication.
Yeah. And that's that question you asked. If we see spirit as a shadow figure, do they see us as a shadow figure? Do they see us as a human? Do they see us as an energy, a haze, a mist? What do they see us as?
It's that question going round, isn't it? Where
it's mind blowing, isn't it?
We see
you're sitting there with a voice recorder. They're doing the same thing.
How do you know?
Voice recorder.
Huh?
Yeah.
Are we answering their question in the voice recorder?
Absolutely.
You know that.
Because what do you say? My name's Hello, Spirit. My name's Paul. How do you know they haven't just said in their time slip, what's your name, like we do? Can you tell us your name? Yeah. Hello, Spirit. My name's Paul.
And when we say, can you knock 3 times, we'll say we ain't replying to their 3 knocks that they've said.
There you go. But can they see us, or do they see us as an energy? Do they see us as a shadow figure?
I'm just going to go someone that's investigation now, and every room I go in, I'm going to go, boo! Like that, really a random thing to see if I shit someone up on the other side. You know, that's what I'm going to do.
Or they'll come up to your ear and go, boo. They'll come up to your ear and go, boo, in your ear. And you'll be, what the hell?
Just catch up on some comments, guys. Lisa said, I really can't find an old village called Craven.
It is there.
Could the village be called Linton now? Angela as well. Angela Harris. I'm looking too. I can find several places that are X in Craven, but not Craven in X. Could be Linton or Kelbrook. Kelbrook has a pub called Craven Heifer Inn.
I think I'm just trying to think of the name it changed its name to. It could be Linton, that rings a bell. So it could have changed its name, but the pub was called the Craven in Heifer. It was definitely the Craven in Heifer, the pub in the village called Craven.
So we've got a little bit of a link there as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So if I don't go out there, I'm going to go and find this Craven Heifer
Inn. Were jukebox and fruit machines around in the 30s? Or was
Good
that
question.
some time question?
I think they probably were.
They were around.
They were around in the 30s. Hi, Angela.
So yeah, we've got sort of loose links, but it's one thing I did write down. Okay, when I was doing my thing here, we did a show a few weeks ago, Simon and Paul. That's not Paul from Ghosts, it's Paranormal. And we was talking about stone tape theory. Now, could that be also stone tape theory at a high level?
Yeah.
Walked into a situation where that area of the time, you know, we talk about persons in stone tape theory or things holding energy. What's to say that pub, as Paul said, we've had a serious accident or an incident where the miners collapsed. So there's a lot of energy held there. The miner's probably drunk in that pub, as there was 26 dead, and he sort of said around about 20 people. So there's a possibility here that we're talking about time slip and time slips and everything like that. It may have not be a time slip or anything like that, but it may generally be stone tape theory.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, it could
be.
we're talking about a high energy of, we've got a very small area with 26 deaths. Tragic. And as you say, there's going to be a lot of energy held there because the families of that area would have lived there. They all known each other. They would have all had families together. They all probably lived and known each other. They would have had parties together. They would have all drunk together. They would have shared weddings, birthdays in that very tight-knit community. And I don't know if you remember an episode of Help My House is Haunted when Chris Fleming was on the show. And he also witnessed I think it was around 32 Cavaliers that walked in front of a pub, and they all died on the top of the mound. Right. And they walked down because that's the route they took of this stone tape theory.
Yeah.
So, not to say, obviously, we don't really know what the basis of the story is. We just know your friend has had an incident, an episode, something that has freaked him out. Where we put that in the sense of paranormal, we could go really left wing here and say, what caused the collapse? Was it the mine that caused the collapse, or was there some form of experiment underneath there that caused that collapse? And what is, what's the thing that goes around, Paul, that we talk about? The gyro.
The hydrogen glider.
That's the hydro drive.
Oh, yeah.
What's to say that something like that may not be present in the UK, and it's causing a sense of
surge of energy. Yeah.
And it does cause that wobble in our timelines.
Yeah. I mean, Jenny, my partner, she just looked out, and they did have jukebox and machines in the 1930s.
Yeah, they do, because you find the penny machines and things still in museums. So they do have,
But that would sort of fit in, wouldn't it? They would have been around at that time. But I don't know. That's the story.
Probably
what you make of it, I don't know.
Probably not like they are nowadays. Definitely, they would have some.
A bit like a one-arm bandit, wouldn't it? Where you pull the arm down that type of
these split machines up, and
yeah.
Where the penny goes along or the ball goes along and drops. It's going to be something like that.
But it's interesting.
It's such a crazy story. It's such a crazy story, and it does. I don't think I've felt such a calling to find a place that I'd really be interested to locate this. I think you obviously going with the 26 miners collapsing. I think that's the way in, because I don't think the story could be hidden, because it would be a tragic story. I think
of a coal mine,
but I feel that there's something bigger in play there. I don't necessarily think it's the shutting down of the church that it's just causing the village to be unwanted, so to speak. It doesn't feel, to me, it doesn't feel that is what they're hiding. I think there's something bigger here.
Right.
It just feels there's something more. I don't want to say the word sinister, because I don't think, but there's a sort of part of me that says, look, if you want money coming into your village, you make this a thing. Do you know what I mean? You look at the pub, Buckley's made an absolute killing of life, because of people like us. They're regular. That pub would have wanted that, because it would have it just feels like, you got shut down and pushed away very, very quickly. It doesn't feel like
it makes it more authentic.
Sorry, Paul.
It makes it more authentic.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to get to.
Maybe we were not meant to know.
Yeah.
So we keep digging.
It feels like the church is playing a part of this. They obviously know, and we're going back to the 1930s. we're going back through the church line here, the lineage of the church line, that priest or vicar or reverend what was in place that time wouldn't necessarily been alive in the 1930s, potentially, but has still shut the story down. So what is being passed through the history of that village within the local circle that is so unique that they have to shut it down? That's my question.
That's
Because
where you want to get in the archives, wouldn't it? The church archive, because that's got to be where it's come from.
But also to the point of changing a village name. Changing a village name, that's not common. That's not a common occurrence.
No.
I know that obviously Basildon in the Essex area used to be called Basil Doink. Why it was called that and it turned to Basildon, how long ago that was, I don't know, but it's still got the same sort of name to its predecessor.
Yeah.
Now, it almost sounds like for you, I know don't take it how I'm going to sound it, but for you not to remember it has to have a dramatic change to what it once was called.
Yeah.
If it was called Craven and it's been called to Craven Dow or something like that, it would still be in the logic brain.
Yes. Yeah.
Obviously changed its name dramatically for you to do your research and forget.
Yeah. Yeah. It was completely different to the original name.
That is the thing that I want to get to the bottom of. You know, the time slip, and for all intents and purposes, I think there is something there, energy-wise, energy field being generated to cause these wobbles. Because I say we've got, if we're in the right vicinity of what Simon said earlier on with these villages, that we've got a gentleman being returned on the top of a coal heap.
You got that until Morgan, yeah.
So we know that
You've got the policeman seeing the UFO land and the cows being moved. That's quite close.
Yeah.
As well.
We'll say we need to locate the exact point, but if it is close to where Simon is looking at the moment or on his screen, that we've got people being returned. Now you've got cows being moved, we've got alien UFO links there as well. We've got time slips. We've got potential paranormal activity with, these miners dying. But it's such a massive whole of everything that it's very hard to actually pinpoint what it could be. And I almost feel that I need, for me, listening to you, I feel like I need to take spirit out of it just for a minute.
Yeah.
Because I think it's bigger than that. I do think it's bigger than that. I think the spiritual side of things would be the 26 miners that passed. That's the spiritual side. The time slip, I generally feel that there is something there that is causing that time slip. I think the time slips to happen, in my opinion, okay? Yeah. I think there has to be some form of energy shift or a power surge of something to kick that in place.
Yeah.
Now, for all intents and purposes, when the miners died, they could have switched something on. When your friend was there, they could have switched something on. It could have been coming to the end of something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's too much shutting down. There's too much shutting down. And villages don't just shut down. Look at Bawley Rectory in Essex. How many times they've tried to shut that down? It's always come to the top of the fold. They can't shut it down. This is being shut down. It makes me think it's higher powers, and it's interesting that digging needs to carry on, Paul Howard.
Yeah.
I think you need to get your digging cloths back on that one.
Yeah. sort of excited really talking about it now. Yeah, I'll get back onto it in between what I'm also doing, and then try and do a bit more digging, see if I can find out a bit more info. But it took me months and months and months to find out about the collapse at the mine, because then I was trying to find what was the name of the mine. It was never mentioned. It was just a collapse, as they said there. And that took probably the best part of 5-6 months just to get that far, because they couldn't go anywhere with it because there was no help. But Google now is all powerful, isn't it? Really, there's not a lot of things that it doesn't know, and then you've got to go on beyond that, like go to the census. What in the census of 1930, was there census of the village? How many people were in the village at that time in the 1930s? That type of. It'll take a long time, won't it? But whether you'll get the answer at the end of it, I don't know.
It sounds to me like a lot of it would be in the actual village records, like you say, church records, library records, things like that. And I think that's where you'll struggle. Because I don't think there'll be, if whatever's gone on has gone on, I don't think it'll be quite open to the public. You can go in there and go, can I just have a look at something for this year? That would have all been taken out.
Why do you want to have done? Yeah. Why do you want to know about the 1930s? Why are you inquiring about that? That type of scenario. You don't need to know that, was what the mechanic said.
But that in itself is strange.
Mechanic as well, yeah.
That
mechanic and
absolutely, yeah. Why do you need to know that? And he said, well, I'm just doing a local search of history, just like you do. And he said, about 80 years. And he thought, well, how can that be 80 years? I was only in there last night.
Yeah. See, that in itself to me is just
So that's
why shut you down on the 1930s? There's no need for it, is there?
Oh.
1930s, mate. In 2005 is a long time. It's a big gap. So you could tell me anything, but we're talking about a mechanic. We're talking about a vicar that has shut you down. And as I've said many times on this show, these are the cases that I find interesting because we watch all the paranormal shows, we watch all the UFO documentaries, and the evidence is there for everybody to see. No hiding of evidence. It's there. The story is there for you to see. If they didn't want you to know it, they're not going to tell you it. This story is quite because people are shutting you down. That is the key to it. They don't want that story out there, and that's the interesting part for me. It's the interesting part of it all, and they're the key little bits of evidence that I like to hear, where we're talking about a story that hasn't come to the limelight, but it does it is being shut down.
In these paranormal shows, they only tell you what they want you to know.
Yeah.
They don't tell you what's happened, truly happened, because it gives it away in the beginning. This is for entertainment purposes only. This program is it. So they're telling you what they want you to hear. Oh, there was a knock, there's a tap, there's a shadow. But what really happened behind that scenes that you're not allowed to see? You're not allowed to know about. You don't need to know because you're no one of authority to know that type of information.
I totally agree. I think it's absolutely a fascinating story.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. I just don't know where to fit in the realm of. There's a part of me that I do feel like there is some form of ufology now. What was that on the screen? Did anyone have a car go past their house?
I had a car go by. Yeah, but just before that car went by, I heard there were.
Yeah, I heard the voice. What I thought was a voice.
Yeah, I heard the voice.
I thought it was the bleed over for something. I heard a voice, so I'm not sure what that was. But we do live in a haunted house anyway, so.
But I feel, and I want to say that I do feel that there is ufology at play there, and I'm putting it in a little bit of a ufology bracket because I can't fit it in. I don't feel that stone tape theory is on the table, and I don't feel that time travel is on the table. I feel, from going by what you were saying with the dog, things like that, I feel that he was being led somewhere. And I think that's how, in my opinion, how extraterrestrials work. I don't think they would lead you. If you saw an extraterrestrial, come with me, you wouldn't do it. But if you see a barman from the 1930s and you want to go for a wee through that door where we think he might have not gone because the dog scared him away, you're going to go much more through that door than you would do if there's an extraterrestrial serving you a beer at the thing.
Yeah.
I think there is darker forces at play, in my opinion. I'm only saying it's my opinion. I'm not to say, and that's how it makes me feel. I don't think it was. I don't feel that there was too much spiritual there until the dogs were barking. What that was, I don't know.
Do you think that could have been a warning for him to stay away from that area? He was meant to see what he saw, how he saw it, as a warning. Don't come back to this area again.
I don't think the area. I think he would, in my opinion, I think he would be absolutely fine if he went back.
Yeah.
I just think he was being enticed into something. My opinion. I think he was being, come here, because obviously he was getting, we've got.
And it wasn't, though, was it? He wasn't being enticed.
No,
but being enticed into something because the barman wasn't enticing him to do anything. The people in the pub weren't enticing him to do anything. He wasn't being enticed to do anything.
No, but he was turned away from something. Why would he need a warning? That's what I'm saying. There was something there warning him not to go through to that next part, whatever that was, because he said he was going to go to the toilet.
Yeah.
And he got to where the dog was, or heard the dogs barking, and said, "Sod that, I'm out. I'll go when I get back to my." So, at what point was he going to go through what he was wherever it was, through the toilet door, into the next part of the bar? At what point? That's my question. When them dogs started to bark, the dogs, in my opinion, were either something from the earth plane or humanoid emotion that he has a fear of in any way. He might be frightened of dogs, I don't know, to stop him going any further. There was something stopping him from going further than he was going to go. Why?
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't know. That's what I'm doing. I think he was being enticed, or I would say enticed was I don't know how other to put it, but he was supposed to get from wherever he was through that door. Why he was stopped going through that door was a spiritual stop in my eyes. Something stopped him from going through that door. I don't think anything else would have stopped him than the dogs barking. He heard a cat meow, it wouldn't have stopped him going through that door. There has to be something within his psyche, in my opinion, that he might fear dogs. So hearing them dogs bark, or an aggressive dog, he would have gone, you know what, sod that, I'm out. I'll go when I'm on, because that's what he's turned around at that point and made that decision to leave when them dogs are barking. Why them dogs barked, I don't know. Where were them dogs in context to the whole? Were they upstairs? Were they kept in a door? Were they behind the bar? Or did he hear them outside? Were they in the toilet? I've got so many questions that I want to ask, you know, because we never
Yeah.
know the answer to.
Yeah.
But something was there. Something was not enticing, I suppose that's too word, but there was something that he was supposed to do. What that was, and when we say get stuck in a time slip, like that's what he's feared. Would he
Yeah.
have got stuck in that time slip? No, I don't think he would have got stuck in a time slip. I feared what was through that next door, stage, step, whatever you are calling it, through the bathroom toilet door,
Yeah.
waiting for him. That is what I fear, because we've got dead bodies. There's a lot of evil there. It's nothing nice, is there? We've got 26 dead bodies because of the collapse. We've got potentially a dead body on the top of a coal mine, a coal heap. So we've got cows being moved around, potentially mutilation of cows, because that's what we are led to believe that these extraterrestrials do, even though I don't believe it.
I think the cows were just moved. I don't think they were
But-
harmed there.
That's what I'm saying. We've got movement of, we've got a lot of ufology there in an area where I just think what was being let through that, what was going to happen when he goes through that door? That is my question. And I think we've got that's just my take.
Yeah. But
See,
whether we'll ever find the answer.
No, I think it leads more
I'll find the
towards
pub, yeah. If I find the area in the pub, then yeah, I think you could probably.
Well, I'm assuming that the pub would be floored and you'd have to, it'd be handled in some way, shape, or form. Now, that'd be my.
And there's got to be something standing on what was there, I would say.
Yeah.
I would agree. I'd have to sort of agree.
So, if you
But what-
It's not. That's interesting.
But if you was to get an ordnance survey map, you may be able to pin it from that, because they can't change the ordnance survey map. They can only change the design of the village, but not the design of the ordnance survey map.
Yeah.
So,
And if there's nothing built on that site, that's telling you something.
yeah,
100%.
yeah,
100%.
yeah. And an ordnance survey map would have told you what was there around there. You know, even like I say, even if they changed the whole design of the village, but the ordnance survey map from that time would still be around about the same area, wouldn't it? So you'd have a good. It'd bring you in closer than you would if you just walked there. Yeah, if you were, you know, you would bring you that much closer to where you say, right, well, this is where it would have been. What's actually here? Oh, look, there's nothing here. Everything's gone. But why?
That would give you your answer, wouldn't it? In some ways.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. So interesting story, really. It leaves millions of questions in your head all the time to think about it. You know, say when I return to telling the story, people ask me about it, and each time I think about it, I think, well, you know, there's so many unanswered questions. You know, how could his brother have turned up with a 1930s penny in his change?
Yes,
you know,
that's other things. Something was still there for him to get that change.
Yeah, and that was a year or so later.
Or is that something that had to happen just for a bit of confirmation?
Oh, quite possibly, yeah. I don't know. But when he saw it, he thought, well, that makes sense. The story told me, because why would I have had a 1930s penny in my change?
Perhaps he was giving confirmation here in the first place.
Yeah, we've got your change. I got your change here.
No such thing as coincidence.
Yeah, ain't much change, but I got some for you.
It's a penny.
It's just fascinating. It's just fascinating.
Yeah, but we live in a fascinating world, don't we?
Of course,
we do. We do live in a fascinating. We as paranormal have much more open-minded to things, and we can be more open-minded to everything, which gives a lot more. What's the word?
I'll be thinking about this now for ages. It'll,
Yeah.
it'll make me think.
Yes.
It will push me down another.
Yeah.
It's learning. If you like learning,
Yeah.
I'm going to learn.
It's another school day, isn't it? You know, you've gone to a different direction, so you're thinking, right, okay, let's see if I can find the answer. If I can't find the answer, then, you know, what did happen? You maybe never find the answer. What did happen? Maybe we're not meant to find the answer. I don't know, but I never pursued it. I should have done. In hindsight, you know, you look at it and think, well, why didn't I go with it? Why didn't I just do it? But obviously, you know, busy lives that we lead, and it just sort of goes off on a tangent. You think, oh, well, I'll get to do that. And you know yourself, you're so busy, you think, oh, what was I meant to do? Was I've forgotten it now. And
do you
you
think
know,
he still thinks about it, Paul?
sorry?
Do you think he still thinks about that incident?
Well, on the odd occasion that I see him now, he just looks at me and says, just goes, because I always say to him, oh, you remember when you told me that stuff? And he's like,
So he's not going back.
and I know from that, he just doesn't want to go back. And, you know, when I first spoke to him, he said, I saw that as a warning. I survived something that I don't know what I survived, but I won't relive that. That's what I'm telling you now, Paul. You know, and that was many years. I'll tell you now, but, you know, that's the end of the story for me. I will never go back. I don't, you know, you can tell people you want, you know, people will think you're crazy, but I'm telling you that's the story. That's what happened to me. And if you want to tell people, that's perfectly fine, but don't ever expect me to stand up and talk about it, because what happened to me is enough.
It's obviously changed his life.
Yeah.
Massively.
Yeah.
Massively.
It's almost the fear of a loss of life. In a strange way, if he got stuck in the time slip, he hasn't lost his life.
No.
Still living. He doesn't want to relive it because he feared something bad was happening.
Yeah.
So he must have feared for his life.
He knew, I think because he didn't understand what was going on is the biggest thing, you know, because he's a normal person going about his normal daily, whatever he would do. And you can't understand what's going on around you and you can't process it. You tend to think something's not right. You know, why can't I work out what's going on? You know, and I think that's what he thinks. You know, he doesn't know. He's not into the paranormal or the spiritual world or anything like that. And lots of people that don't know things tend to black them out, push them to one side because they don't have to deal with them. And I think really he shut himself down to think, well, I've had a narrow escape and that's enough for me. And if I talk about it, maybe something will happen. I don't know. You know, that's the impression I get.
Mention before we end the show, I've just got to mention this comment because a similar incident apparently. It reminds me of the Kersey time slip. In my old village of Kersey, there was 3 naval cadets that walked through Kersey and they looked into each dwelling. There was old medieval bakers, butchers, shops and hanging meats, etc. But it turned out to be a time slip. There's a rare book on it that I have. It's an amazing and similar to Paul. The names were William Lang, Ray Barker, Michael Crowley. It took place in October 1957.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah.
It's a similar sort of...
So it does show you it's not uncommon. Like she said, this is not an uncommon experience. Yeah. That's exactly what she said to me.
Yeah.
That was her word. This is not uncommon.
But I just think we can poo-poo it off sometimes, can't we? You know,
yeah.
For myself, you know, not to say I've had time slips because I don't know if I have had time slips, but I do remember one incident that I did speak, I think, about Paul with you on the show once when, Paranormal Paul on the show.
Yeah.
I was at work. I remember pushing something around the back. I remember loading up the skip, emptying the rubbish into the skip. And as I looked up into the sky, is all I could remember seeing is like the old-fashioned Hindenburg balloon
Oh.
going across the sky. It was silver. It wasn't modern in any way, shape, or form. And I thought, that's old looking. And I threw a couple more bags into the skip, looked up, and it was still there. But I remember looking at the houses around, and it was there. Then I went again, I put it back, and I turned back around, and it was gone. It was just gone. It didn't frighten me or worry me. It just confused me because I'm thinking, you know what? Yeah, it could have been an air balloon, like, you know, but it never, you know, round our way many years ago, Paul, there was the air balloon over Damis Airfield over your way, wasn't there, Paul? Paranormal Paul, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Remember the old air balloon over the airfield in Upminster? You take off, and it was nowhere near that. It was huge. This silver balloon was huge, and it couldn't go anywhere as quickly as it come. But I remember walking away and thinking, I don't know if I've seen that through my eyes, or I don't know if I've seen that through spiritual eyes.
Yeah.
And that's where I left it. Do you know what I mean? I left it. And I say, I've never called it a time slip because I don't think it was a time slip. Because nothing else around me had changed.
But then you could go on to say we had a time slip at Cannock Chase. Either way, either you had the time slip or we had the time slip.
Yeah.
We lost time in some way, shape, or form that night.
I would say you had the time slip because I say we saw it. Yeah, and again, but you're right. I never looked at the time. So I would never have known if we had missing time. I would never have known. I just know that I saw you, but you didn't see me. What way around that went? Yeah, I couldn't. The more, you know, you're right. But I wouldn't know. I couldn't tell you because I never saw any signs of a time slip.
Yeah, I suppose we did
in my car because of what went on. You know, but yeah.
And then, you know, probably the craziest bit of that was the lights that Henry was seeing at the end of the day in the sky. Yeah. And I've never seen him scared. And we were all laughing at him. We were nearly in hysterics in the back of that car, laughing at him. But what he was seeing, he was...
Yeah. I remember it. I remember it clearly. And how it all went.
Unbelievable, yeah. But that's another story.
Yeah, it's a whole different story. Right, guys, we've come towards the end of the show. I want to thank Paul Howard for coming on. And
very welcome.
Do speak to your friend. Please tell him thank you for sharing the story.
Yeah, sure.
And, you know, we're thinking of him because it sounds like he's had he's had to live with that for a long time. And it sounds like it'd be good to see if he could get him under hypnosis to see really that brain. That would be a great one. But it doesn't sound like you'd have any luck with that whatsoever.
I don't think so. I think he had a near miss and that was it enough for him. To take him back to it, I think it might disturb him.
So, guys, thank you ever so much. Paranormal Paul and Si, thank you once again for joining us tonight. I'm just going to ask you to hold there, Paul. Don't go anywhere because we'll sign off the show and we'll have a chat backstage. All right. So you got a great story there. Thank you from Joe. So yeah, thank you ever so much, guys of the show.
Joe, get looking. We're going to Yorkshire. Get looking.
We will be in a couple of weeks' time. We're not here next week and we're not here the following week. But after that, we will be back on your airways, guys. So. So take care, everyone. Stay safe and see you all soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.